University of Delaware, we have Adam Thomas, Christy Mannering, and Michelle Walfred that are going to discuss the public rollout of an Ask an Expert system. Please welcome them.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. We really appreciate it. Before we get started, we just want to give a big, hearty thank you to Oregon State. Without their help and sharing all their awesome slides and videos, everything with us, I don't think this rollout could have been possible. So a big thank you to Oregon State for all their help. So like I said, I'm Adam Thomas. This is Christy Mannering and Michelle Walfred, and we are the University of Delaware Cooperative Extension Communications team. When we decided that we were going to roll out the Ask an Expert feature last year, we really wanted to make sure that everyone who was going to be an expert or who was going to be involved in the Ask an Expert feature was trained properly on the website. So what we did is we held training sessions in all three of our county offices, Newcastle County, Kent County, Sussex County. Delaware is a small state. We only have 3 counties. But we held them in person. Our former communications manager, Katie O'Connell, she led the training sessions. And we trained the experts, and we also took the training ourselves as wranglers, so we could really get a handle on what Ask an Expert was, how the questions would be coming in, and how we would get those questions to the appropriate experts. I make the joke to Christy, if you're going to open a burger joint, you're not going to open it without having people there who know how to flip burgers. So we just wanted to make sure we had all our bases covered so we wouldn't have questions sitting there for 3-4 days, kind of lose all the momentum that we had gathered with the launch. So in addition to the in-person training, we also, at the University of Delaware Cooperative Extension, we have a feature called First Friday, where the first Friday of every month, our director, Dr. Michelle Rogers, she holds a First Friday session with all of the extension agents in the state. And so what we did is we hold these sessions via Adobe Connect, and we had Dr. Rogers, Katie O'Connell came back, and she trained all the people who couldn't be there for the in-person training. She trained them over Adobe Connect so they could sit there at their own personal computers and really see what it was like to get questions, really walk them through. And Ask an Expert is so user-friendly that people picked up on it, lickety-split, no problem whatsoever. So now that we had all the training down, we had all our bases covered that way, we really wanted to get the word out. So another feature at the University of Delaware that we have is we have a daily online news publication called UDaily. It's just the daily news cycle for the university, everything that's going on at the university. And the stories serve as our press releases. So if an outside media news outlet sees the stories and they want to rerun it, they have our blessing to take what we publish and go with it. So what I did is I wrote up a press release, as you can see right there, just kind of walking people through, everyone in the state of Delaware, through what Ask an Expert was, how they can use it, what types of questions will be answered, and what our experts have expertise in. That news article went over really well. We had over 400 views, and the average user stayed on the article for an average time of 2 minutes and 58 seconds, which, when you look at the article, it's under 500 words, so that's a good amount of time for people to stay on the article, really take in what Ask an Expert was all about. So once we published it on UDaily, the next thing we did is we have our college, the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. We have a blog, so we published it on the blog. And then we also pushed it out through our various college social media sites, Canner's Facebook page, our Twitter page, and then the various extension Twitter and Facebook pages. We pushed it out that way. So we really wanted to make sure we weren't putting all our eggs in one basket. If people didn't see the UDaily article, they would see the extension, or the Facebook and the Twitter posts as well. So now that we had everything lined up, we had the word out, we had the experts trained, we had the wranglers trained. The next thing to do was to get it out there, and we decided to unveil it at the State Fair, and Michelle Walfred will talk to you about that.
Hello. In Delaware, where we are a small state, most of you probably have county fairs. We have a state fair, a single state fair. It's 10 days in July, and it's a complex of buildings. We have one of the outer buildings, and we have a small area which has barn siding, very farm, very rustic. And we were launching a technology program. So we decided we brought in podiums. We had 3 interactive stations so that people could come in and actually try the Ask an Expert. And we wanted to do we had screenshots, if you see here, screenshots of our website. We were also there with Delaware State University, which was our partner in Extension. And you'll notice all across on the variation of Oregon's quote bubbles, we developed our own quote bubbles. And what I did is I asked our Extension agents, what are the questions you get? Which are the questions you'd like to have $1 for every time you answer them? There's always those repeat ones. And they're regional. And what I did was I took those questions and we created these quote bubbles. This one here, is this a deer tick or a dog tick? Another one very, very popular was, can I leave butter out? And people would literally walk past the exhibit, see the bubble, back up, and then go right to an agent and start talking to them. These were surprisingly effective, and we had them different sizes and different colors. But they were a great trigger for the type of questions that people, oh, that's right, I'm curious about that. So then they would go ahead and they would engage with us. And that also gave an example of it always reinforces what Extension is doing. Now, we did have a challenge at the State Fair. This was a metal pole building. The internet at the Delaware State Fair is infamous in its low quality. But with a little smooth talking and some cajoling, we got some Ethernet hardwire extension internet service. But as a backup to that, we had an Extension scholar named Deanna Lentini, who was terrific. And again, using a lot of resources from Oregon State, we developed a Prezi. So we had a wide flat screen back here. And that was a very fluid. It showed live action, showed people typing in a question, getting an answer back, and some sample questions showing different people using it at different times for different reasons. And so luckily we had the backup and the internet. And while we were there, we live tweeted. We had a lot of good crowds. But as people came in, I went up to them with my cell phone. I said, would it be okay if I could use this for Twitter or for Facebook? Got their hometown. So we live tweeted continuously throughout the 10 days. And then we also posted these pictures on Flickr, and those received enormous visitation traffic. And again, the quote bubbles were the thing. In summary, that this really, in my opinion, was the really big draw that brought people in. We tried to find questions that were Delaware-based that people could relate to. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Christy Mannering, the web developer.
Hello. So I had one of the easier jobs of Ask an Expert. I did go through training, and I am a wrangler to get the questions. But in terms of putting the form online, eextension.org has amazing people who simply said, we have a widget you can embed into your page. And all I had to do was to customize it and say, this widget has to send questions just to Delaware, let them know we're okay with them separating it out into the different counties. And then I pasted the widget code into the page and hit publish in WordPress, and voila, the form was there. So for me, it was very easy and it worked really well. And you can see this is the front page of our current extension website. And initially when we first launched, there was a longer graphic that said, have a question, ask an expert. We have a smaller one now. It's been over a year, so people are more familiar with Ask an Expert. And we don't have to immediately throw it in their face like we did in the beginning. The beginning graphic was more for the state fair, so when someone walked up to a monitor, they didn't have to search around for anything. This is what the form looks like on any extension site that has a widget. The only difference, again, is the customization of the location in the drop-down. So if you were to click Delaware, you could choose you want an expert from the entire state, or you can say, you know, this is a Sussex County question and just get an expert from that area. And this little area is for the featured question of the week, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So the form was very, very easy to do. And another thing we did was to make sure the URL was short. So it's extension.udel.edu/ask, because that's really easy to put on promotion materials and very easy to remember. And as Adam and Michelle have already discussed, we are putting questions on Facebook. If we get an interesting question or one that has a photo, somebody wants to identify a spider or a weed, we can put that picture and that question and an answer on Facebook. And that's another way to get people to ask questions on our form, go to our website, or go to eextension.org. Likewise with Twitter, we can promote questions that are interesting on Twitter. And a really good example that we've had a lot of snow in Delaware this season, and on one of the snow days, we took advantage of #SnowDE. And Michelle, while I was home with my children running around on their snow day, Michelle took advantage of talking about Ask an Expert. It's a snow day, but can you not wait to get out there and start gardening? Ask an expert about that. So it was just another way to be more casual with our audience, reach out on a day we know they're home, stuck inside, and to just let them know, hey, there's this really great tool, you should check it out. And like I said before, we do have a featured question of the week. So whether it's going to be about weeds or insects, or this one is rhododendrons and squirrels, fascinating information. Everyone needs to know what to do with the squirrels. So we can promote that on our website, and it allows us to build an archive. So if we change the question every week, then we now have an archive we can go back to and say, these were the really popular questions that we found people would want to know the answer. That's how we featured them. We also have, if you can see this link, frequently asked questions. So if you were to go to that page, it has 4 or 5 of the most asked questions, similar to the ones that were in the bubbles. At Thanksgiving and Christmas, we get a lot of questions. Is it safe to leave the butter out? How long can you leave the turkey out? And so we have those questions, easy access for people to grab. Another reason to put this on our website instead of just direct back to extension.org's website is because if this has a URL for our domain, we can then share it on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest if it has a picture that will go back to our website. If we don't have it on here, we can still link to extension.org, and all of our experts have a signature that says, I am so-and-so, this is my specialty, this is our website. And so even though if the answer is on extension.org, they will still have a way to get back to our website, find out more about that expert and more other answers, other questions. So then they might be prompted to ask something else. So we try to keep things really cross-referenced and linked between different accounts so that people will return. In summary, again, major thanks to Oregon State. I know some of you are here from Oregon State. We thank you so much for your help and your best practice tips. Adam talked about the press release of the launch, the website visibility with the graphics and the cross-referencing, the pre-event training. I do real quick want to give a shout out to our experts because they made time to put their profiles in with tags. I'm comfortable answering these questions. So when we, as wranglers, get a question, we put in a tag, this is about squirrels, this is about rhododendrons, and it brings up all of our experts who can answer that, so we don't have to go searching. We know, okay, so-and-so is comfortable answering this, we'll send it off, and that person, because they're comfortable, will answer within 48 hours. So our audience knows, this is a place I can get prompt information. So then we did the public launch at the fair, had the interactive exhibit, which was very successful. We're continuously using social media and building new ways to engage, and the feature question and any follow-up training with new staff and professionals who come in who aren't familiar with this. We can show them the training that's been recorded from the first Friday session, or we can train them in person. So, do you have any questions?
I can.
What training materials did you use to train?
The question was asked, what training materials did we use? And we have to, again, point to Oregon State because our former communications manager, Katie O'Connell, came to an e-extension conference with Dr. Rogers, and this is where we learned about e-extension, and we decided to make that a commitment for our state, and we partnered with Oregon State, and they shared their resources and their graphics especially, and your experience.
There's also, I think we probably just took a lot from the extension
And absolutely, e-extension as well. It was very, very helpful.
I don't want to take credit for rebadging or something too.
That's one nice thing about extension people. They're generous, they share everything. That's what it's all about, so it makes our organization so great.
I may add, in our training, we did do a two-step training. The first was setting up the profile, and that was enough, especially with our volunteers. So we had one training that was just profile. It was step 2, was come back, and then we did some things on it. So it was kind of introduction into your profile. The second training was, okay, here's the hands-on, here's how you respond. And they were short. It, it wasn't all day. It was come in for an hour, we do this, and get back out. But that was well received.
Do you want me to repeat any of that? Okay. So our director, Dr. Rogers, is hiding from you right now. But what she was saying is that we did use training materials, but we had 2 days of training. One day, which was just time to set up your public profile, put in your avatar or your picture, let people know what you're an expert in, what area. Some of our experts just want to answer questions in Delaware. Others are comfortable with the entire Northeast. It's up to them, and they put in tags. I'm comfortable answering questions about insects, about insect management, about soybeans, wherever it might be. And then for the second day, it was very hands-on. It was in a computer lab with computers in front of them. We put through test questions. They checked their email. They got the question that came through. They clicked on the link. They went, through that whole process of answering it right there. So if they had a question, we could easily go to their computer and help them. And Katie O'Connell, our previous communications manager, she set that up, and it worked very well. Yes?
Just a sort of shameless sharing, as I continue that, is all the graphics that you guys are using is now available to all of you. We've made it available as a series of files that are on basically we've got a jump drive that has everything on it that you're seeing up here. The banners, the logos, has videos on it, and we're actually going to be putting out more material over the next year and a half to keep adding to that. So you can customize it. Delaware was great because it gave us a chance to go, wow, this can be used
This can be picked
by
up.
others. And
Right.
the extension said, well, let's do that. So watch for that, or if you'd like to get these files up there, right?
Do you need me to repeat that? Okay. Any other questions? Yes?
So, if somebody submits a question to that link that you had, is that then accessible for the answer through ask.extension.org, or is?
So the question is, if a question submitted through the form, where is it accessible to answer? Both places. If they were to log in to ask.extension.org, they could answer it. Otherwise, it's assigned to an expert. It goes to their email. They click the link, which then takes them to ask.extension.org. So if they're not remembering to log in there, they'll still have the reminder in their inbox.
So either way, the question is at ask.extension.
Yes, yes.
Any other questions? Well, thank you
Okay,
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.